So there I was, poolside in Hawaii, Kindle in hand, full vacation mode activated. And my kids were next to me in lounge chairs, on their iPads, in Hawaii. Right in front of us, this other family was absolutely living it up. Kids laughing, splashing each other, playing those elaborate pool games. It was honestly kind of beautiful. And I had a split second where I thought, am I failing at this? Then I looked down at my Kindle, looked over at my peacefully occupied children, felt the Hawaiian sun on my face, and I thought, no, we're fine. We are absolutely fine. Welcome back to Hawaii Travel Made Easy. I'm Marcie, and today we're talking about something I think every mom has felt on vacation and almost nobody admits out loud: the comparison trap. You've spent real money to be there. You've been planning for months, and somehow you're still watching another family across the pool thinking they've figured out something you didn't. That feeling has a name, and we're going to talk about it today. Let me tell you about the restaurant moment because you already heard the pool story. My kids were on their iPad at dinner at a really good restaurant in Hawaii that I had been looking forward to all day. The table next to us had these kids who were just on, talking about their day, excited about tomorrow, trying things off the menu. They looked like the brochure, and mine were on their iPads, and one of them was whining at me in Hawaii at a restaurant I've been thinking about all day. And I felt it, that little drop in your stomach where you wonder if you're doing it wrong, if other families just have some switch you haven't found yet. And then I caught myself, because going out to eat has always been a production with my kids. This is not a Hawaii problem. That is a Tuesday night problem that followed us across the Pacific. The iPads meant relative quiet. I could actually eat my food while it was warm. Nobody cried in public. By any realistic measure, that dinner was a success. It just didn't look like one. And then there's the version of this that I'm a little embarrassed to admit, but I think you need to hear it. A few years ago, I was sitting in my hotel room in Waikiki, jammies on, my youngest on his iPad next to me. I had a container of grocery store poke that, I'm not going to lie, tasted great. I was happy. We were tired. It was that kind of night. And then I picked up my phone and started scrolling, and there were a group of 20-somethings in these adorable tropical outfits doing a whole reel about the best poke spots on Oahu. North Shore Poke. These gorgeous, colorful bowls. Everything looked incredible. And I looked down at my grocery store container in my hotel room, in my pajamas, and I felt bad about it. While eating poke that tasted great, that cost me $12 and required zero effort after a day where we had absolutely nothing left. The North Shore is not a quick drive from Waikiki. I knew that. We didn't have it in us. Those 20-somethings without kids and without the day we'd had could absolutely make that drive and film it beautifully. And I could not. And that was the right call. And I let a 60-second reel make me feel like I'd made the wrong one. If you've ever been in Hawaii and felt worse about your vacation because of something you saw on your phone, you're not alone. Put the phone down. Your poke is fine. So let's talk about what you're actually seeing when you're looking at those other families, because I want to offer a few reality checks. That family laughing and splashing in the pool, 2 hours later at dinner, one of their kids was full on sobbing. The kind of sobbing that takes over a child's whole body when they've had too much sun and too much fun and there's nothing left in the tank. I've seen it, I've lived it, it happens to everyone. And the Instagram mom at the pool, I witnessed this firsthand, spending 20 plus minutes staging what she's going to caption as a candid moment with her kids in the water, directing them, repositioning them. Can you splash again, but make it look more natural this time? And those kids started losing it because they just wanted to swim, and instead they were doing unpaid modeling work in a chlorinated pool on vacation. The candid shot took longer than most job interviews. Or the mom at the luau carefully lining up a video of her kids watching the show, thinking this is the memory right here. And all three of them are asleep before the fire dancers even come out. Because it's 8:30 at night and they've been in the sun all day and they are done. That video exists. It's not the one she posted. And those bright-eyed menu-exploring kids at the restaurant next to me, maybe that's just who they are. Or maybe it was day 2, and by day 5, someone said, I never wanted to go on this stupid trip anyway, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. I only saw one meal. That's the thing about comparison on vacation. You're watching a highlight reel and you don't even realize it because it's happening in real life right in front of you, not on a screen. You're only seeing a sliver. And I want to say this plainly because I think some of you need to hear it. You are not doing it wrong. A kid on an iPad in Hawaii is not a referendum on your parenting. A hard afternoon is not proof that you should have stayed home. You're there. You showed up. That counts for more than the highlight reel version ever could. So I had a client who came to me with a very detailed picture in her head of the Hawaii trip she wanted. And that picture came almost entirely from her sister-in-law's trip the year before. She walked me through everything, the resorts, the activities, the restaurants, and it all sounded incredible. But here's what caught my attention. Nothing had gone wrong. In her entire retelling, the trip was flawless. No hard days, no overscheduled mornings where everyone was grumpy by 10, nothing. Which told me more about what I was working with than anything else she'd said. Because her sister-in-law had elementary-age kids. My client had a toddler and a preschooler. I'm talking nap schedules, stamina that runs out around 2 in the afternoon, an entirely different kind of trip. Not worse, just different, and it needed to be planned that way. So I stopped her and I said, I'm going to tell you something a friend told me when I became a new mom. And that thing is, comparison is the thief of joy. It's essentially sneaky when you're comparing your trip to one you only heard about secondhand in the best possible light from someone whose kids are in a completely different stage of life than yours. We set the sister-in-law's trip aside entirely and started over. What does your family actually need? What does a good day look like for a toddler and a preschooler? What does it look like for you? We came up with a plan that was actually hers, and I bet anything it was better for her family than anyone else's itinerary would have been. If you're in that place right now, building a Hawaii trip based on what you've seen someone else do, or what looks good on Instagram, or what your friend with older kids swears by, this is exactly what my itinerary audit is for. You send me what you've got, and I look at it through the lens of your specific family, your kids' ages, their energy levels, the kind of trip that's actually going to feel good for you. You can find it at hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Itinerary Review. It's the fastest way to stop planning someone else's trip and start planning yours. So when you're building your trip or looking at one you've already built and something feels off, the question I come back to with almost every client is, why do you want to do this? And if you can't answer it, that's usually your answer. People put Pearl Harbor on their itinerary all the time. And when I ask why, there's often a pause and then something like, because you're supposed to, right? Because it's there? But if nobody in your group has a real connection to World War II history, if your kids don't actually know what they'll be walking into, that's 3 or 4 hours of your vacation that isn't actually for you. It's some imaginary version of what a Hawaii trip is supposed to look like. Same with the shave ice place someone mentioned in a Facebook group 3 years ago that's 45 minutes out of your way. Is it worth the drive? Maybe. But do you know that? Have you asked whether the grandparents or the toddler or whoever you're traveling with actually wants to spend that time in the car? Or did it go on the list because it felt wrong to leave it off? The trips that feel right, when you come home thinking that was exactly what we needed, are almost always the ones where you can explain why each thing is there. Not because someone else did it, not because you saw it on a reel, because it actually fits your family and the kind of day you're trying to have. When you notice the comparison creeping in, at the pool, at dinner, scrolling your phone while you're already sitting in Hawaii, just ask yourself, is this actually a problem, or is this just not what I pictured? My kids on their iPads at the pool wasn't a problem. It was a Sunday afternoon at home, just with better weather and a view of the ocean. I was on my Kindle, they were resting, the vitamin D was free. If you want to get ahead of all this before you even get on the plane, episode 37 is a good place to start. That's the truth about Hawaii travel, managing expectations for a better trip. And if you're still in the should we even do this phase, episode 103 looks at whether Hawaii with kids is actually worth it right now for your family. For everything else, resources, guides, all of it in one place, head to hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Resources. If this one hit close to home, share it with another mom who needs to hear it. And if you've had your own comparison trap moment in Hawaii, pool deck, restaurant, phone in hand while grocery store poke sat there perfectly fine, I want to know about it. Come find me on Instagram at Hawaii Travel with Kids. Your trip doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be worth every penny. It just has to be yours. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.